Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine and well at your home. Dear students, I welcome you in Pakistan International School TAI's virtual learning system for the session 2020, and this is your biology class for grade 9 junior. Dear students, we are on chapter number 4 and we are gonna do the last topic of this chapter, that is about plant tissues. This is a huge chapter, a very big chapter. We have finished all the topics, including microscope, including the cell theory. Then we have seen cell structure, cell organelles, animal tissues. Now we are gonna see plant tissues. As you know that the cellular passage, like diffusion and all these topics are excluded in this reduced syllabus. But inshallah, we will do it in 9th senior class. So today's topic is about plant tissues. As we have seen before, animal tissues like animals and plants are called the higher organisms, and they are having tissues and organ systems level. Plants are not having so much, we can say so many organ systems, but we will talk about just a few. So if we talk about in all the kingdoms of organisms, animals are the are having the highest rank regarding an organism, because it is having from cellular level up to we can say the organ system level, and then it makes an organism. But if we consider plant tissues, so they are not plants are not having proper organ system level. Organs are there, but just a few organ systems are there. So we will talk about some of the tissues which make them organs. So let's get started. Plant tissues. So as in animals, the cells of plants are grouped into tissues with characteristics, functions such as they can perform the function of photosynthesis, then transport of of food material or water in all of the plant. So on the basis of the structure, the plant tissues are of two basic types. One is simple tissues, another is compound or complex tissues. So you can see here in the diagram varieties of the tissues. In the leaves there are different types of tissues, and stems and roots. So these are the organs and they are having the tissues. So they make just a few transport system, or like a few systems the plants are having. So we will first take a brief look on the plant tissues in a flow chart. So you can see plant tissues are having meristematic tissue as well as permanent tissues. Two type of plant tissues are there. Okay, so in meristematic or permanent tissue, meristematic are divided into apical, lateral, and intercalary meristems. And if we talk about permanent tissues, so there are simple and complex tissues. We will talk about them uh, in detail, all of them. Simple tissues are again divided into different types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma tissues. And then we are having complex tissues in the form of phloem and xylem. Sclerenchyma, we take our fibers and sclerids. Um, these are also the fiber-like and sclerids, which are collectively form the sclerenchyma tissues. So in complex, xylem and phloem tissues are there because xylem and phloem are not um, made up of only one type of cells, but they are having varieties of cells and structures in them. That's why they're called complex tissues. Like xylem is having tracheates, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers, and phloem is having sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. Let's talk about in detail about all of these tissues. So first we'll talk about a simple tissues. So in simple tissues, we'll talk about the cells which are made up of only single type of cells, not like all the cells are having the same structure and same function. Those are called simple tissues. So the two types of simple tissues are there, meristematic and permanent tissues. So permanent are also simple and complex, which we have seen before. So in the previous, we can see here, we can write the simple tissues and then permanent tissues. So in simple tissues, there is meristematic tissues, and then in permanent tissues, we are also having simple and complex tissues. Okay, meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are composed of those type of cells which are having ability to divide. Division of the cells occur in those type of tissues. Which type of tissues? Meristematic tissues. Because they are thin walled and they are having large nucleus. Large nucleus is for the division. That's why, what does it mean? If it is having large nucleus, so nucleus will be in the center and it does not have large vacuole. So there are no vacuoles, or there are very small number of vacuoles. So many vacuoles are present in them. So it means these are not mature cells. As we have just talked about before, that these cells, the cells which are having large nucleus, they are mature, permanent tissues, but the cells which are having the large nucleus and small vacuoles, they are dividing cells, and like they divide continuously throughout the life, but they after several times, several months, several years, they can change into the permanent tissues, and then they stop dividing. But before, they are immature and they don't have vacuoles in them, as well as they don't have intercellular spaces. So intercellular spaces means like this here in this one, they all are uh, compactly bound with one another. So they don't have spaces among them because they are continuously dividing cells. That's why. So there are two main types of meristematic tissues, but basically they are having three types of tissues. You can see apical and lateral, two main types of meristematic tissues, and then there is another type of tissues. We will talk them about after in the next slide. So you can see apical meristem. This is apical meristem, which is on the upper edge, and the lower edge in the root, and this is lateral meristem, which makes the width of the plant. So here we'll see the detail of those tissues. Simple tissues which are composed of meristematic tissues. So meristematic tissues are having types apical meristems, lateral meristems, and we'll talk about the next one after some moments. So apical meristem, apical means apex, the meristems or the tissues which are present at the apex, like at the peak, like at the pointed ends of the plants. Pointed ends are definitely in here, apex, like the peak of the plant, as well as here at the downward where the root ends are there. So they are present here, apical meristems, here apical meristem, not this one. So what does it function for? So they divide and cause increase on the length of the plant. So main function of apical meristems, like this present in the shoot, this is present in the root. So its function is to increase the length of the plant vertically, in upward in shoot system and in downward in the root system. So you can see very long and tall trees continuously growing in size in the length, and their roots are also so big and long in search of water. So they are apical meristems or apical cells are present over there. Then we are having lateral meristems. Lateral means at the sides. So at the sides of the plant, not to at all the sides, like this is round and circular. So at the sides of the hair all around, so we can find the lateral meristems. So what does it mean that it is found in the lateral? They are also dividing, so it means it increases the width and breadth of the plant parts. So they are responsible to increase the growth of the plant parts. So that growth is called secondary growth. This growth, which is in apical direction, this is called primary growth, and which is on the lateral direction, like when the plants get thick and fat and it increases its width, that is called a secondary growth. Okay, lateral meristems are of two types. Number one is vascular cambium and number two is cork cambium. So vascular cambium, vascular means it comes from the vessels. Vessels means xylem and phloem. So this cambium is present between the xylem and phloem, and cork cambium, this is the outer lateral sides of the plant. So here you can see that if we cut the cross section of or the stem or the root from the center, and we can take the cross section of that, you can see this one, this bundle, this blue one, that is the bundle xylem and phloem. Xylem is towards inside and phloem is towards outside. And here the line, this one, this black line, this is vascular cambium. Vascular cambium means it is present in between the xylem and phloem tissues. So here you can see this is the center of the stem, like this. This is the center of the stem. So this is vascular tissue. This all vascular tissue. What is vascular tissue? We'll talk about in after a few moments in the next slides. Okay, and here is xylem. So you know that xylem, here is phloem. Xylem conducts water in the plant from root to its leaves and all the parts, and phloem conducts food from the leaves to all parts of the plant, including the roots. So between these two, there is vascular cambium present. So these cells are mature cells which are formed by xylem and phloem. So they form vascular cambium. So that is secondary growth because it increases the width of the plant. Then there is cork cambium, and it is outer lateral sides of the plant. So you can see this is cortex. Cortex are the broader cells, and there is a bark. Bark is a thin layer which sheds every year um, out of the tree's skin. So this is the cork cambium. This one, this is also increase the width and we can see the wood of and the hardwood of the tree. Uh, so that also increases the width of the plant. So they are also permanent and permanent tissues, but before they were the lateral meristems, and they used to divide here. They divide and divide and divide, and they increase in the size, and they increase the lateral sides of the plant. Then we are having another type of meristem that is called intercalary meristems. So this is intercalary, means they are present between uh, like anywhere in the plant. So it increases the irregular growth of the plants, like growth of the tree, leaves, or growth of the branches. So it is form a small patches among the mature tissues, and you can see here these are lateral meristems, and you can see here is the place from where the new leaf arises. So this is the place where the intercalary muscles, meristems, intercalary muscles are meristems are present here, and from there the leaves or new branches can originate. Here we can see there is a node. Node is the accumulation of these intercalary meristems from where the branch can arise, because they are the most dividing cells. So from here the new branch arises. Like when we cut the grass, when we cut the trees, and from the cut parts, new leaves of the grass and the trees originate and arises. So that is due to the presence of intercalary meristem. Next, we'll talk about permanent tissues. Permanent tissues, they originate from meristematic tissues. Like I have told you, first meristematic tissues are present in all the plants when the plant is growing from the seed, from the seedlet. So the seeds of the cells of these tissues do not have the ability to divide. Permanent tissues means they lose the ability of division, so they don't divide. So what will happen then, and what type of cells are there? So you can see there are certain types of permanent tissues which are present in the plant. So they perform different type of functions. We'll talk about in the next slide. One is parenchyma tissues, other is collenchyma tissues, and then sclerenchyma tissues. Permanent tissues are, if we talk, there's the first one, that is epidermal tissues. Epidermal tissues are also permanent tissues, like we are having the epidermal tissues on our skin. So they are dead cells. Like that, epidermal tissues of the plant, there are also dead cells, and its function, epi means upper, dermal means skin. So they function for the covering of the plant. So they are present on, we can say, around the roots, around on the leaves, upper and lower epidermis of the leaf. You can see the upper epidermis and lower epidermis of the leaf. So they are present in that places from where they cannot divide again. Here the root meristem, it can increase the length, and these are the epidermal tissues. They don't divide. From here the root here arises, and these root here help in the absorption of the water. On stem and leaves, they secrete cutin. So because they are permanent, so permanently they secrete cutin. Cutin is a protein which is or waxy substance which is released from this epidermis, especially upper epidermis of this one, uh, and that is we can say forms cuticle like a waxy layer on the epidermis, and that waxy layer is used to protect the leaves from outer environment, as well as it reduces the transpiration or removing of water from the leaves. And that is also present, very thin layer is present under the lower epidermis, and here stomata are present also in this lower epidermis. So this cutin covers, or the coating of cutin is called cuticle, which prevents the evaporation. Evaporation reduces a lot while they are having a cuticle, which is formed by cutin. Then epidermal tissues also have some specialized structure that perform specific function. For example, root hair and stomata. If we talk about roots, so these epidermal cells we have talked about, they are having root hairs which absorbs water, and here if we talk about, they are having stoma. Stoma is singular and stomata are plural, so they are having these type of structures for exchange of gases. The next tissues, we are having ground tissues. Ground tissues are simple permanent tissues, and they are called parenchyma tissues because they make the base substance of the some parts of the cells, and they are the most abundant cells in the plants because they do what? Photosynthesis. Yes, overall they are spherical in shape, but they are flattened at the point. Also, they are spherical, rounded here, but where they are joining here, so it becomes flattened this way, this way, this way. Then there are spaces among them also. They are also having thin primary cell wall, so um, they have large vacuoles for the storage of food. So parenchyma's function is for storage of the food. But in the leaves, we have seen this before. This is cuticle, this is upper epidermis, lower epidermis, this is vein, this is called xylem and phloem, this is stomata, and when we just see in the leaves, these parenchyma cells are called mesophyll cells. These are mesophyll cells. These all are green, some are rounded and some are elongated. The elongated are called palisade mesophyll cells, and the rounded one are called spongy mesophyll cells. So they are the site of respiration. No, sorry, they are the sites of photosynthesis. But in plants, um, parenchyma cells are also performing very basic function of respiration and protein synthesis as well, because they do have mitochondria in large amount as well as ribosomes in large amount for protein synthesis. Okay, do you know that most parenchyma cells can develop the ability to divide and differentiate into other types of cells, and they do so during the process of repairing an injury. Like if the plants get injury anywhere, so these parenchyma cells do repair that injury, and like our skin heals the wound, like that it heals the injury in the plants. Next, we are having support tissues. In support tissues, we are having further types. So support tissues give you the name of strength and flexibility to the plant. Ground tissues means they're having the basic ground functions which are required for the plant. So support tissues, they give support to the plant. So first one of that is collenchyma tissue. In collenchyma tissues, they are found in cortex beneath the epidermis. So this is lower epidermis, and in the not here in the stem, and we can see in the roots, um, they are present under the epidermis. So they are a thick, they are having thick membranes, like this is epidermis, this one, and these all are collenchyma tissues. Like this is epidermis and they all are collenchyma tissues. So you can see that here the thick secondary cell wall is also present. Primary is present but secondary wall is present. So thick secondary wall is present, it means it is having some sort of lignin also. So here you can see the wall thickening is at the edges here, to make them more permanent and give support to the plant tissues. So they are present in the young stems and in the midribs of the leaves. This is midrib of the leaf. Like if we draw the leaf like this, so from the center, there is a thick vein passes, and from where the smaller veins arise in this direction. So this central one is called midrib, and in the petals of flowers. So that's why this midrib and the young stems and quite are flexible as well as they are quite stiff. They are made up of elongated cells with eventually a thickened primary cell wall. They are flexible and function for the support of the organs in which they are found. If they are present in the leaves, so they are present in the midrib, so it supports the leaves. The leaf does not break easily, and also it conducts the water. Then we are having sclerenchyma tissues. Sclerenchyma tissues are composed of the cells which are having rigid secondary cell walls. Parenchyma also having, but from the diagram you can see that they are having very rigid um, a structure and hardened wall. Why they are hardened? Because they are made up of secondary cell wall, and they are secondary cell wall is made up of which substance? Yes, it is made up of lignin, which is main chemical component of wood. So this type of structure maybe you have seen in the wood. So that's why wood is dead. Wood is having dead cells and stiff and harder cells due to the presence of lignin. So mature sclerenchyma cells cannot elongate, and most of them are dead. That's why they form a wood. Next, we'll talk about complex permanent tissues. These are called xylem and phloem. So we know that xylem conducts water from the roots to aerial parts. Aerial parts means upper parts, the parts of the shoot, stems, leaves, etc. And phloem conducts food. If you don't remember, just remember it also sounds fur and this also sounds fur. So both just resemble with one another. That's why phloem conducts food from the leaves to all parts of the plant. Okay, so in compound or complex tissues, it means that the tissue is not having one type of cell, but it is having more than one type of cells. So in that we can see a xylem and phloem tissues. So here is a stele. It means that the core or center of the stem, which is having xylem and phloem. So this is xylem, which conducts the blue molecules because it is from down to up. So this is water, and here is from down to up and up to down because food travels all the way in the plant. So that is xylem. So we'll talk about them now, structure and function. So xylem tissue is responsible mainly for conducting water and dissolved substances which are carried out from the roots to the aerial parts of the plant. So due to the presence of lignin, we have talked about before that xylem cells are having lignin inside them because they are having secondary wall and they make the walls rigid and thick. That's why it gives not only support, not only it transport the water, but it only gives the support to the plant body. Let's talk about the structure that xylem cells is having two types of cells, vessel elements and tracheids, but some other uh, cells and parts of those um, xylem tissue are also present. Vessel cells are thick, having thick secondary wall, and they lack end walls and join together to form long tubes. You can see here. Here are the tracheids. Okay, these are vessels. Vessels are broader and tracheids are very thin indeed. And these are end walls, but they don't have end walls. Just they are having perforation, and these are the water molecules which conducts from the roots to the aerial parts in the column, in the line. Some other cells, okay, next is the tracheids, they're cylinder cells with overlapping ends. So you can see these are cylinder cells and they are overlapping one another here and here. So some xylem fibers are also present. So xylem fibers actually they are non-living cells and they are made up of sclerenchyma and dead cells and they give like we can say, mechanical support to this xylem also. Because xylem is the long tubes which originate from the roots and they move every part of the plant body. So that's why they must have mechanical supports also. So there are some other cells. These are called this one. These are broader cells. These are called xylem parenchyma cells. So these cells are very important because they are having this stored reservoir of fats and carbohydrates which give energy to these cells for the conduction of water. So here you can see tracheids and xylem colorized as SEM. SEM means scanning electron microscope. This picture is taken from there, and the smaller pores, these are tracheids, and the longer one, these are vessels. So these vessels help in the conduction of water. So these are perforation is there in the vessel elements here also. So water can conduct this way, this way, this way, and all the way, but from down to up. And here are the tracheids. They are having pits here outside, and they can also help for the conduction of water from in the companion cells from here one side to another side. Last but not the least, we are having phloem tissue, and that is responsible for conduction of dissolved organic matter. Which organic matter, which food they make? Like yes, they make glucose by the help by the process that is called photosynthesis. Okay, so from photosynthesis, they prepare the food and then they conduct in all parts of the plant. So, phloem tissues actually they contain several types of tissue cells like sieve tubes and companion cells, and also like that parenchyma, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers also. So there are two main types of cells. These are called sieve tubes. These are, and why they are called sieve tubes? Because they are having the plate. This plate is having uh, pores inside it, specific pores inside it, and they act as sieve, like for the straining, for um, filtering the food which is dissolved in the water. Then it runs through here and like from one cell to another cell. Then we are having companion cell. Definitely companion cells make proteins for sieve tube cells, and we are having some sort of like these cells supporting cells and some parenchyma. These are parenchyma cells which having reserved food of fats and carbohydrates for the conduction of food. So here you can see this is phloem fiber. Now, sieve tube, this is along, this is phloem fiber, this is sieve tube, it is having like sieve plate here. This is companion cell, and sieve elements like sieve plates are there, and phloem parenchyma cells are also there which conducts the all help in the conduct. That's why they are said to be complex or compound tissues, because there are lots of cells which perform their function together. So dear students, I hope you understood it well and got um, just in take interest in this one, because this is very important chapter regarding your basics of biology. And now at the last we have just ended the whole long chapter. So inshallah from the next lecture we will start our chapter number 5, very interesting, that is about cell division. You must write it's this whole chapter which we have studied and your notebook with the diagrams. You have to do all um, terms to know, question answers as well. And if you have any question, you can ask me in Zoom meeting. Wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.